What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Bullish Bears YouTube channel. I'm Kevin and I'll be your host, and today we're going to be covering a tool called Volume Profile. Now there's a few different ways to use Volume Profile. I'm going to get into all of those more in depth throughout this video. It's really a great tool because it's different from the volume you see at the bottom of your charts. The volume on the bottom of your charts just shows how much per candle, whereas Volume Profile is on the side of the chart and it shows you how much volume was traded at that specific price level. If it's a strong level with volume, if it's a weak level with volume, different types of volume shelves with the Volume Profile as well, and so much more. So I'm really excited to teach you guys how to use this tool. Let's get into it. For this video, there's going to be multiple sections. The first section, we're going to go over the basics of what is the Volume Profile. Second section, we're going to go over the key elements of the Volume Profile, what makes the Volume Profile, different keywords and strategies used within it, points of control, volume nodes, volume shelves, and so on. The third chapter, we're going to go over how can we use the Volume Profile, and the last thing we're going to do is analyze the Volume Profile, and I'm going to be using it on maybe ES or NQ, and we'll spot some key levels, and I'll show you guys how they work. So Volume Profile is like an X-ray of market activity. It shows us how much volume was traded at a specific price over a specific period of time, typically displayed as horizontal bars on a price chart. So unlike these vertical bars down here, they're horizontal, so they line up with specific prices. This tool helps traders and investors understand where significant price levels are located based on volume of trades that occurred at that specific price point. Volume Profile also assists in identifying key support and resistance levels, areas of high traded activity, which is also known as the POC, that's the point of control, and price zones where price may consolidate or make a significant move off of. So now I'm going to show you how to add Volume Profile to your trading view chart. First, you're going to come up to the indicators, and you're going to look up Volume Profile, and I'm going to show you guys two different Volume Profiles. The first one will be Session Volume Profile. When you add this, it shows you the Volume Profile per session. That would be per day. So the chart we have right now is NQ, which is the NASDAQ futures, and as you see, it shows us different volume bars per day where the highest amount of volume was traded, and we also see it on every day. And if we wanted, we could go into the settings and we could extend it, right? So we could extend the POC, and the POC is the point of control, so we could see where it lines up the next day, how we reacted to it. You see how this point of control on this day worked as a key level where we had trouble breaking through on this day, gave us a nice short setup, whereas the following day we used this day's point of control as an area where we broke to continue into a trend. So it's definitely important to use this study and this tool because it really does help give us more of an insight of where volume is traded at that price during that day. So I'm going to remove that Volume Profile. I'm going to show you the second Volume Profile study they have, which would be the Visible Range Volume Profile. So this one is going to show us on the right side, however far out zoomed we are on the chart, where the most volume is traded, and usually we'll see it as an area of resistance or an area of support. What I like to do with this study though is I like to go into the settings, and for row size I like to bring it up to either 75 or 100, and what that's going to do is it's going to make the bars smaller so I could really get more of an in-depth area of where these price levels are. So I would mark this off as a key level, and I would mark this off as a key level. Would also see down here was pretty strong. Now if I wanted to zoom out, it's going to change the Volume Profile per session, because now I'm zooming out and it's seeing more volume and more change. So you see how this still stayed as a strong area. That's going to be a really strong key level. Now if we took this off or moved it to the side, we see how this level played off. This day right here we used it as a key level. We used it again as a key level. Now we could use these key levels or support and resistance as targets, as areas to enter a trade, areas to exit a trade, and areas to just overall understand, okay, are we above this? Should we stay bullish? Are we below it? Did we break below it with strength? Are we pushing bearish? Now let's get into the key elements of the volume profile. So the POC is your most important area. That's the point of control. That's where the price level at which the highest volume of trading activity occurred within the specified period. It's often considered a significant support or resistance level. VAH is the value area high. That's the upper boundary of the value area, which encompasses the price range where a specified percentage, usually 70% of the total volume, was traded. The VAL is the value area low. That's the lower boundary of the value area, marking the price range where the remaining percentage of total volume was traded, usually 30% if the value area high was 70%. Volume shelf is referring to a distinct price level or range of the volume profile chart where there's noticeably increased volume in trading. There's two more we'll go over, then I'll show you guys on the chart exactly what we're going over here. Low volume node, that's the LVN. A low volume node is the opposite of a volume shelf. It represents a price level or range on the volume profile chart which relatively low trading volume. LVNs are areas where there was less trading interest and price may move more freely through these zones. An HVN, a high volume node, in contrast to the LVNs, a high volume node are price levels or ranges within a significant trading volume. HVNs indicate areas of consolidation where price has encountered strong buying or selling activity, and these areas often act as support or resistance zones and can influence future price movements as well. So let's go into the chart so I can show you guys exactly where all of these are so you guys could know how to read a volume profile. So your point of control is always going to be the highest volume shelf, right? It's going to be the point of control. Usually most indicators do have it where it plots a trend line right with that node, right with that shelf. A high volume node would be the ones that might not be as strong as a point of control, but are relatively stronger and higher in volume than a low volume node, whereas a low volume node would be these over here, maybe these in between, these over here. They're very low in volume. A value area high would be the top of the volume profile range. The value area low would be the bottom, so this would be the 30, this would be the 70. And volume shelves would be areas where there is strength, but maybe not as much strength as there would be for a high volume node. So we want to know the difference between a high volume node that could really work as a support or resistance, and just, you know, an area where there was a volume shelf, there was extra volume on the chart. For this next section, we're going to go over how we can use the volume profile to improve on our trading. So there's a few ways we could do this. We could use the session volume profile where it goes each day and we could see each day's areas of interest, the points of control that we see, and we could sort of see that you see on this day, this is August 10th, we had the volume profile right here. So I'm going to throw a trend line or a horizontal ray as TradingView calls it. I'm going to put it right here and we could see that we sort of used it as an area that we bounced. We used this as support, right? Used it as support one time, two times, then we broke it, and we sort of started using it as resistance. We used it as resistance again. We broke through it on this push. We broke through it on that push. They're not going to be perfect every time, especially if you're using the session volume profile, because you're going to get a new volume profile point of control every day. If you're doing the session volume profile, you're going to get one here, you're going to get one here, you're going to get one here, here. So what I would like to do when using the session volume profile So I like to look for these key areas where I see, okay, this day had the volume profile right here at 15,270. The next day it was around 15,285. The next day it was also sort of in this range. So I see that this is a strong area that we were using a couple of times now, right? So I would mark off this first one, but I would remember, okay, well, this was an area that, we used as a session volume profile, point of control. So I'm going to be aware of this as an area where there was heavy volume traded on this day, even on this day, even though our point of control was more down here. What you could do at that point, because you're sort of giving it more of a range than an exact price level, is you could come over to this tool, the geometric shapes, and you're going to go down to rectangle. Now what you could do is you could sort of just give it a few points. Let's see, go about 10 points from the bottom, 10 points to the top, and now we have our area of interest right here, where we see we broke it. We could have waited for the retest and entered on the retest, and the push lower would have given us a good trade. The next day, look what happened. We consolidated at this point, which when we consolidate at a price level, it normally means we're either going to reject it, but sometimes when we consolidate at it enough and we're not rejecting it, that means we're drawing liquidity from that level and we're going to try to pump through it, and that's exactly what we got there. Then what happened, we dumped and we used it as a retest to go short again. So again, it's all about finding these key levels with the volume profile, whether you're using session volume profile or you're using the range volume profile. So let's go into the range volume profile. Let's hide that. Let's delete these, because I do like the range volume profile a little more because it gives more of an overall look on how we're trading in the volume profile itself. At this point, we have our value area high right here, which we see that this was a strong support. It was support for a while until we finally broke it. Then we used it as resistance once, twice, but look at the sell-offs we got, and this is on NASDAQ, right? So if we're looking at the measurement tool, we got about a 240 point drop at that point. If that would have been a move, we would have been able to catch. Another drop we got right up here. This was also about 260 points. Again, this was during market open as well for those who trade QQQ or SPY. QQQ would be the equivalent of the NASDAQ, which is the NQ that we're looking at right now. And then let's take a look at where our high volume shelves are, right? So I would mark this off as a key level. So I'm going to do a horizontal line right there. I see this one right here is our point of control, and we'll do another one right here. So I like to mark off the super strong levels that have a lot more volume than, say, these lower levels, right? So let's mark those off, and we could sort of see how we reacted, right? So you see how these are both pretty equal. What we could do at that point, like I mentioned with the the rectangle tool again, is we could line up our crosshair, which we could see on the right. We can line it up to the bottom, to the top. And now we have our area of interest, AOI as I call it in our Discord community. We go live every day for our community, take some live trades with you guys, do some live education with you all. Always open to answer some Q&A. And yeah, it's really great. Go to bullishbears.com to sign up now. So we have our area of interest right here. I like to mark my areas of interest as blue. And we would know, okay, well, look, this is how we reacted to this there. Then again, we acted as support, then we failed it. And look, we failed right off the point of control, the POC right there. So we failed it, pushed lower, broke it. Then we used it as resistance. Then we used it again as resistance. We broke above it, used it as support, and failed. And then, look, we even used it again as an area of interest. So if we keep scrolling, let's keep an eye on those levels, right? So now look, these levels are still lining up here, still lining up, doing well. Again, it's good to sort of mark off with the rectangle tool to give yourself more space to that key level or that key area, because it's not always going to react exactly at that level. So maybe mark off 2 to 3 of the volume shelf candles. That way you give yourself a bit of a range and an area where you're going to look for some type of rejection or reaction in the stock market. And that's how I would use it. I would mark it just like that, just like this. I would use the rectangle tool, and I would also use the horizontal tool as well. And I always mention to our community and our members that it's so important to look left, right? We want to look left to see how have these levels that I'm marking, how have they acted and reacted in the past? Are they strong levels that in the past they also worked as a support and resistance? Or is it something new and I'm not going to be too certain on it? So that's just another way to confirm the strength or volume in that level. Alright guys, I hope this video helped. Have a great day, happy trading, and don't forget to check us out online at bullishbears.com. Take care.